Welcome back to another episode of Your Bookshelf Besties. My name's Ashley.
And I'm Brandy, and today we're talking Once Upon a Broken Heart series since the last book, A Curse for True Love, just came out, and we both just read that and reread the other two books
Yep.
to prepare for the release of this last one.
This was like one of my most anticipated reads this year.
Yeah,
Like
I
even over Iron Flame. I was so
really,
excited for this book just because I love Jack so much. I love the series. I love like the magic of it.
yeah, it's very whimsical. That would be like my number one reason for really liking this was that it was just so aloof and whimsical that I really did enjoy that aspect of it. And Jax as
Mm-hmm.
well. I really liked Jax. What are your thoughts on our main lady, Evangeline?
Evangeline. I I love the series. I It's a 5-star series for me. A 4.75 maybe. I don't know. I want to give it 5 so bad,
Yeah.
but then like when I sit here and I like analyze it back, I'm like, did I love Evangeline? I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on how I felt about her. I thought she was a good female main character. I thought she was. There wasn't like too many things about her that I was like, why'd she do that kind of thing.
Really? I feel like she was pretty annoying to me.
I knew you were gonna say
Yeah.
she was
She
annoying.
every single book they just go over how reckless and careless she is with her life and this and that. And she's still all the time going and bleeding into the vampire's den, going in and doing all of this
Mm,
stuff. And they're like, you're just so reckless. You're just so reckless. And she just plays into that every single book. And I'm just like, you are not reckless. You're stupid. At this point, you're stupid.
hey, hey, hey,
But
hey, hey, hey now.
I mean, I've read worse. I've
Yeah.
read worse female main
I think
characters, but she wasn't
I
my
guess I
favorite.
didn't really pinpoint it down in my eyes of being reckless.
Yeah.
Even if that was mentioned in the book, I probably skimmed over it because I was like, "You're wrong." But I thought that it's she's in love with Jax, so she does silly things.
Yeah.
When you're in love with somebody, you do dumb stuff, right?
For
That's what
real
I'm
life
chalking it
though,
up to.
I'm like, but I will say that what I did like about the third book is that, oh yeah, if you haven't read one, two, and three, definitely probably read those before
There's
we get into this.
100% going to be spoilers
Yeah.
in all of this. Yeah.
Uh, After reading the third book, I liked, and this is actually how I found out I didn't like Evangeline, is because I really enjoyed the perspectives from other people. Like hearing Jack's take, like, you know how this is like the only book where they had different speakers.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
actually was like, I don't think I really like hearing about the way she sees it and perceives it, um, or thinks it. Like I liked hearing it from Jax, not necessarily Apollo, because they made him a completely different character by the end of,
Yeah.
by book three.
I actually was thrown off by that.
Yeah,
I didn't like how the first two books were just one point of view, and then
yeah,
in this third book, she's like, "Here's 3 points of view." I did not like that.
yeah.
It didn't. I kind of just wanted it to be the same throughout.
Consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I probably wouldn't have cared if it had been in her perspective, but I feel like I liked seeing it through Jax's lens just because I liked him more and
Yeah.
because I wasn't seeing him in her life the way that I wanted it to be. You know, because by the end of the second book, you're like just ready. You know that like he's willing to do whatever for her. Like you were upset at the end of the second book, like heartbroken. You didn't know how things were gonna evolve, and then you find out in the beginning of the third book, oh my god, she's never gonna remember him. It's gone. All of that for
I
naught.
mean, in the beginning
Yeah.
of the third, yes, you're like, oh, she's not gonna remember him. But in the back of your head, you're
You
like,
know she
of
will,
course she's gonna end up with him.
but we're still back to like kind of how we were the first and second book with them not being together, even though they're supposed to be, and you know
I
they're
mean, they
supposed to be
weren't really
together.
together at all, like until the very end. But I
So
did feel like there was definitely parts that is like the chase
but the
part.
whole book of one and two, you know they're supposed to be together. They're never really technically together
Mm-hmm.
ever. I think a lot of that has to do with like the kiss. I feel like maybe they would have acted sooner sexually if there wasn't
It's
the
a YA book,
if
Brandy.
there wasn't any death kiss involved, you know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like we were coming to the end where they're ready to discuss their love for each other, and then that happens and she doesn't remember him, and we're back to, they're supposed to be together but they're not going to be together, and then
Yeah.
finally we have our
But we had to have some
union.
sort of like a resolution thing for Apollo though. So it's like you knew that something would have had to happen. So you'd have to pick one of the two.
So speaking of Apollo,
Yeah,
what are we thinking about Apollo and his where his character led him in book 3?
I was like really you I think she wanted us to have a villain
Yeah,
and that was going to be Apollo,
right.
which I kind of started to guess that either way. Like at the
Yeah.
beginning of the third book, I was like, "Oh, he's going to
Did
be
you
the
expect that at the
villain."
end of the second book that this is the direction the third book was going to take? Because I was
I
not.
did not expect at the end of the second book. I did not think that they were going to make him turn out the way that he is. I feel like what happened to him was very like unjust. Like I don't think he deserved that. I do 100% understand where he comes from a lot of the things that he does. I think that they weren't like unjustified just because
The,
it
the
was kind of who his character was in the first book when she met Apollo. And he was like very like into himself. You know what I'm
I
talking
feel like
about?
they didn't go into him enough before they started messing with him.
I
You
feel like you
know?
got like a tiny little blip where he was like lounging over the balcony and somebody was painting him,
Yeah.
and she was like from the start she was like I could tell that he's into himself and like he's gonna be like this like self-righteous person or whatever, if that's the right word. But so you get that little blip, and then even when she first meets him you can tell that he's kind of just like a tool, but then she kisses him and he changes like that.
Right.
So you get that little blip. So I kind of thought once the curse was broken off of him that he may revert back to that. But I was a little confused on his character when he didn't go straight back to that. And then he was to Evangeline was like, I heard you talking to me and like I'm very thankful. And he like was so in love with her. I was a little confused about that
It wasn't
because
believable.
it wasn't believable
Yeah.
because he how do you go from being like so in love with yourself, literally saying, I'm never gonna marry anybody, Nocturne ending is never gonna end because I'm not gonna marry anybody. He loves himself. And then he goes on this curse and he loves her. And then the curse is broken and he's in this sleep, and then he like wakes up and he's obsessed with her again. I was confused about that part. Because
Yeah.
why was he obsessed with her again if there was no curse on him still? But then at the end, when he dies, it's because he loves himself the most.
Yeah.
His character confused me. I don't think he should have been a villain. I
I
don't
don't
think he
think
should
it
have
was
died.
believable the way that it
Yeah.
was portrayed. I think the author was going with that he had had so many traumatic events happen that now he was this different person. Because I'm like, even
Yeah.
if you're a narcissist, I don't think that's gonna equate to you being as evil as he became in the third book, killing
Mm-hmm.
a kid. You know,
Yeah, he did
like
a lot of crazy things.
he did a lot of really evil things, and I don't think
Really
that
evil
that was
things.
at all what somebody who sits in their
No,
glass castle perched
no.
on their pedestal
He
does,
definitely became a completely different person.
Yeah.
I felt like his character was just
And
kind
I
of
don't think
way
it
out of
was
left field.
believable for me. Like none of that's his change was not believable for me. I in my head the most realistic outcome would have been that he swears off Jackson Evangeline is like, do not ever come to my castle again.
Yeah, I
To me
thought when
that's
he
what
woke up, he was gonna be like, "You're banished," kind of
yeah,
thing. Not like, "I'm
that
so in love with you, I won't
exactly.
hurt anybody that touches you, and we're just gonna cast out Jack so that way
Exactly.
you love me." Like, yeah, his character, I don't know how I feel about him. I don't think he got a just ending. I don't think, but her new book series that she may or may not be writing, who even knows? I was looking at how there is three different epilogues in the different like they're not publishers, but like the different, I guess, distributors maybe. Like there's a Barnes and Noble epilogue, and there's a Waterstones epilogue, which is the UK, and then there's Owlcrate epilogue, which I don't know. I don't really know much about Owlcrate, but I saw something on Reddit. Who knows how like true it is?
Yeah.
That said that I couldn't find the actual epilogue to read, it had got removed, but I could see the comments, and it said in the Outgrade epilogue it was about Aurora and Apollo, and they're like predicting that her next series is going to be about them, which makes me think he's going to come back to life. Obviously, if it's about him, I hope not, because I didn't really like either one of their characters. So I'm wondering if she's going to bring him back and give him like a just ending.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be interested in that, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think I would read it because I
How
didn't
did
like
you
him.
feel about the discovery of Aurora in this book and Aurora's character in the third book?
I was really confused on her character because you want to like her, but then she starts doing shady stuff because she's in love with Jax, and you're like,
Yeah.
like I didn't really like her character.
And her sneaking and working with Apollo. Like, that's just so devious for, and it just didn't make sense to me. Like, he was being so devious with her
Mm-hmm.
to, like, orchestrate this plan against Jax and Evangeline and plan all this, do all this plotting. And it just was kind of out of left field for me. I don't know.
That's why I'm wondering if
But it makes
these.
sense with the Aurora and Jax thing because I was so confused about that. You know what I'm still very confused about? In the first book, when they go to the Hollows and she says she sees Jax, Lyric, what's the other guys? Caster, and the Archer. Why did it have the four people? See, that's another question I don't think they ever touch on. That's really weird. That's really weird.
In the picture, it was in a picture. It was four of them.
Yeah, it was like written on the wall or something.
Oh, it was just
And
written.
she was like, "Oh, so Jax is definitely not the Archer because
But
his
then
name is
Jax says he
there."
is the archer.
Yes, he's the Archer, but
Yeah.
why was
I
that
don't
included?
know. I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's just another string that just doesn't make sense. Where you think it's more,
Yeah.
and then she just runs away with it, and you just they're in the north.
Yeah. I don't know on that one. Yeah, I know you had asked me that when I was rereading, and I never really saw an answer for that.
I didn't see a lot of answers for a lot of things. But again, it's like it doesn't really need to make sense because it's in the north where stories change and nothing is
Yeah,
ever remembered the same anyway.
exactly.
So, which I can appreciate. I did like the curse though. The whole time he thought the curse was that his true or that
Oh, I loved that plot twist.
I
I thought
liked
that was
that.
a good
I
plot
like
twist.
that. I really
I thought
really
it was
like that.
I thought it was also a plot twist that Aurora is the one who put the curse on him. Which makes me question though, if she put the curse on him, most fates like have curse. So how did that come about? Like
Because
shouldn't he
that's
have
not her
already
fate, his fate curse.
what was
I
his
don't know.
fate curse? Yeah,
It
what was
didn't
his
even
fate?
say. I'm still very again. I'm like now you're gonna make me go down a bunch of rabbit holes.
But do fates really have curses? Because now I'm even more confused.
Um, well, we know Lala did.
What did she?
She
Oh, it was her tears.
it was
She cried the
yeah,
tears of poison. Yeah.
and
So
she is like
Jax is.
destined to never be with anybody. But I'm really confused about does Caraval go over how they become fates? Anything about how these people become fates?
Gosh,
Because
I
if
don't.
these all there's 16 fates, but we don't know how they get turned. But we know that they were once human and that they
I
can make
think
a
it
choice to
might,
be
and I
turned.
can't remember because I read it last year, which is bad. I have such a bad memory. But I think it might. I'm almost positive it talks about how they get out of the deck.
But how are they made though? Because we know that they're all
I
human
am
at some
wondering
point.
how they're made. I also thought it was a huge plot twist that chaos isn't even a fate.
Oh, they just made that for his story. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was a vampire, so he was like
Yeah.
I just started telling people he was a fate.
Because he's immortal. He's
Yep.
got the yeah.
Yep.
What I did like though is finding out that his family, the Valors, put the curse on the stories to begin with to
Mm-hmm.
protect their son Castor, who is now a vampire. I did like that little
Yeah.
tidbit. That was fun, but I yeah, so that really bothers me that I can't understand the origins of how a fate works.
I
That's one of
feel
those
like
things
now
when I
I
think
have to
about.
like go back and reread Caraval just to see because I
But
can't
even
remember.
if this is a standalone series, like how are you going to mention that these people were once human and then Like
Yeah,
they made a
because so
choice.
many people are like, you don't have to read Carvel to read this. I definitely read this first and then read Carvel, and I felt like it would have made more sense if I would have read Carvel first and then this series first because or second because they interconnect. They do interconnect.
But even an interconnecting book, I don't feel like should solve pieces. Like if it's not meant to, if it's meant to be a standalone series,
Yeah.
you know, you should still be able to. It makes sense, even if it's interconnected. It's interconnected shouldn't have answers going in
Yeah.
here and here. It's like
Yeah.
they should be able to provide like more of the bigger picture, but not answers from it. So that
That
is
was a
very
question that I
annoying to
actually
me.
did have, and I felt like I didn't have very many questions because I don't question a lot of things when I read books.
Yeah,
But I was wondering, like, how do they become fates?
right. Because we just for sure we know that they're human, and Jackson Lala both said that they had made a choice to become a fate. So I'm
Yeah,
like, what's
because
that process?
yep.
Can anybody do it? Does everybody know that you can just make that choice? Like it just one of those things that I was fixating on because I'm like trying to understand the world of
Yeah.
the fates and how they come about. So that was one of those things that I just kept not being able to wrap my head
Yeah.
around.
Now I feel like I need to Google this.
I was Googling so much during these books, and I swear it did not help much.
Yeah.
I literally was like Googling who put Apollo, who tried to kill Apollo, and then it was saying Tiberius, and then it would say Jax did it, and then it would say
Yeah.
Marisol did it, and then I was just like,
Oh, what
okay,
did you
so
think
they
about
all
her
did it.
character?
They like had her involved a lot in the first book, and I still was not really ever sure that she was evil. They kind of alluded to that she had to be
And then
evil,
they just drop her off.
and then they just dropped her
She
off.
just like disappears out of the book series. I felt like.
The last I think the last scene that she's in is where she goes into Jack or not Jack's Luke's room, and Evangeline is like, get out, and she's like, you're just jealous because you had to
Oh,
take
that's
Apollo.
right. So does she die? Because
No,
we don't know.
because she begs Jax to mind control her, I think,
Oh,
to
that's right.
leave
That's right. So she leaves and she walks away, and then we never see her.
again, or we never bring her up again. We never
No.
do anything for. And in my head, because no one ever solidifies that if she's really evil or not, I'm like, was she evil? What, like, why are they
She
putting so
definitely
much?
was because like she was jealous throughout all the books, and then even in the second one when Evangeline comes back and Marisol's like, "I'm so sorry. Like I did put the curse on Luke or whatever to love me," and with Tiberius she did as well. And then Evangeline's like, "Oh, cool. We're like getting stuff off our chest. Actually, I'm the one who stopped your wedding." And then she's like,
She's
"You."
like,
Yeah,
jealous
and she's
turd.
like, "She's in here," like calling
Yeah,
the guards. Like I was like, "You," I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because she literally, you're literally telling your sister that you put these curses on people so that they fall in love with you. One was literally the love of her sister's life. And then her sister's like, "Oh, we're coming clean. I'm gonna
yeah.
come clean on something that I did that was pretty bad." And she was like, I did not like that part because she was just like, "Oh, you're a horrible person." No, you're also a horrible person.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I didn't really like her character throughout the whole book.
I didn't like it either because I was just like, are we good? Are we bad? And then I also wasn't very clear that like being a witch was an actual like a thing. I thought because the spell books are available to everybody, it seems like anybody
Yeah,
could
but they
practice
definitely
magic.
call her like a
Like
witch.
Lala could practice magic. I mean, all of them could do magic. They could all. Evangeline made the potions
Yeah,
for the
but
stuff.
magic is
So
like not supposed to be a thing. So I think it's kind of just like if you do it, you're a witch.
okay, because in my head I'm just like, why? I don't know. So I don't really know
Now
how.
you're confusing me on this series that I love so much.
Because if you really think about it, like
Yeah.
break a lot of things down, I'm just there's Evangeline made a potion, but nobody's saying that she's a witch. Lala also deals with handing out her poisonous tears for potions, like,
Yeah, but she's a fate. It
and
doesn't
we're in
matter.
the north.
And we're
We're in
in
the
the
north.
north. Everybody's a witch.
You're a witch. You're a witch.
Oh my gosh. I
So yeah, I don't know. I don't really like Marisol's character, was just
mm-mm.
kind of to me. I was confused most of the time she was in there. I'm like, are we good? Are we bad?
she's bad.
Because Aunt Evangelina's like, no, she's good, she's good, she's good. And
I
then
thought she
everyone's
was
like,
gonna redeem herself and be good when she
yeah,
came clean and was like, I actually did this and I'm sorry. And then she went right back to it.
yeah. And then she gets kicked out the books.
And
You
then
know, the
she just
author's like, I'm done with
disappears.
you.
Yeah, her character literally disappears. Out of the three books, what's your favorite? Which one was your favorite?
I think the second one,
I like when they go to the hollow.
yeah, that's probably why. Oh, wait, is that the first one or the second one? Are they in the
That's the
hollow?
second one.
Okay, so it's the second one's my favorite when they finally go to the hollow. And that's because it's the most whimsical to me. And I feel like the description of it,
It is in the second book, right?
I don't know. I
Oh
think
my gosh,
I
I'm
know.
so much happens in all these books. Like when I was still in the first book and you were on the second book, and I was only halfway through the first book. I was like, oh yeah, remembering back to when I had read it the first time, I was like, oh, this happens. And then I thought that happened in the second book, and then
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this happened in the first book. Like when Evangeline goes into like the vampire lair. I thought that was in the second book. That was in the first book. So much happens.
She goes into the hollow the second book because the first time she goes into the hollow is when she's been hit
Yeah.
and she
Yeah,
goes
when
there
he
to
wakes
stop
up,
time.
yeah, for the archer.
So
Yeah.
Apollo's already got that curse on.
Yeah, so it is the second book. But I thought that was really cool.
Exactly
I
the description
actually
of that. I
even
love
liked
that.
the second book. I liked the third book, I'm sorry. The forest, I thought was pretty cool.
I loved that. I actually that
Yeah.
was probably my favorite part was when she goes into the what is it called? The something the
The cursed
forest.
forest,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. That was my probably my favorite part. Just the shop she was going into.
I know.
I did like that. I did like that part.
Because
What
it's like magical.
what was your least favorite book?
No. I love them. Probably um the first, I guess, but I loved them all. I gave them all 5 stars. I don't know, maybe the last one. Probably the last one.
Is your least favorite?
Yeah, I still thought it was a good book,
Yeah.
but I felt like the first one is like really that fly is like get out of here. I felt like the first one, I mean it sets you up for everything. So that's why I liked the first one. And obviously I had to like it enough to get hooked to read the rest. But yeah, I would say the third one with the stuff that happens with Apollo, don't like it. Didn't really like Aurora's character. I wish that her and Jax would have like sorted things out before the last 10 pages. It was literally like right at the end.
Yeah.
And then the epilogue, at least in the book that I have, was such a letdown.
What did yours say? I don't know if mine had an epilogue.
You read my book.
Oh, duh.
I swear to you read my book.
Oh, and then he's like, you don't get to ever know about my curse. We'll never know what his curse was.
Yeah.
I mean, we can assume, like I
Yeah.
assumed with all of this book, but
Well, it was kind of like about the apples. You don't really get an answer besides like it helps curb the craving.
we're just assuming to curb the craving of kissing other women to kill them.
To
I'm
find your love,
assuming.
to want to find your love. That was what it is. He wanted to find his one true love.
So he ate the apples
To not want to kiss people to see if they were his one true love. That is my like guess. But I would be very curious what the other epilogues are. Just to see.
I'm not that invested.
I am.
Yeah, I.
Because surely she's gonna write another series.
She's got a lot of characters to work with. She totally can.
Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like it should be about chaos.
I personally would. Okay, I personally really liked Chaos in books
Mm-hmm.
1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a little confused about when he gets his helm off, why his mom, who literally curses. Okay, so the parents, the Valors, they make the story curse, so no
Mm-hmm.
story in the North ever sounds the same, right? They make that in order to protect Chaos. They put the helm on him to protect Chaos. Do they go into the archery or what is it?
The Arch. The Valerie Arch.
Yeah, do they go in there? Why did they go in there? Because they were getting in trouble for making a vampire? What was the purpose that they were in there? Anyways, okay,
Did
so
I even read this
I
series?
know. I'm like, I don't know. Anyways.
Why
So
was the Valerie Arch? I think it was to just keep themselves like they were in a suspended state.
I
But I
know,
think
but why? But
I
what
think
led
people were
them there?
starting to rebel against them because they were humans, but they were very powerful.
I think it had to do with chaos that they had made a monster.
Yeah.
So I think all of the other founding families, those other really
Mm-hmm.
powerful ones, I think they were going and turning on them. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
This I genuinely don't remember. I feel like that's the only thing I
I
can
think
like
it
piece
was
together.
though, because I think it was essentially like people were getting mad that they were like too powerful and like taking over.
But here's my question, my huge question. Why is it all of this happens and the first thing Honora does when she sees chaos is
Take the
take
helm
off the
off.
helm off? Take the helm off.
But I don't that's why I'm like, is the next series going to be about him and we get an answer to that? Probably not because
Probably not because nothing is. There's no
but but I don't think we'll know because we don't know what was said when he went into the arch. Like what did he say to her?
Please take my helm off. Okay, baby.
Right? Like
Like in my head, I she put that on. So none of that made any sense to me. So to me, he again is like another. He makes sense for me for him to be the monster because he
mm-hmm.
hasn't fed in like X however many years, and then now his helm is off, and obviously like that's going to be an uncontrollable thirst. And I feel like we could have gone that route and like had the Valors more involved with trying to get chaos under
Mm-hmm.
control.
Why
You
does
know,
chaos have such like a
he just goes around in this next book killing
killing super?
families.
That's what I'm saying. Why does he? But other vampires don't seem to do that. So why does he do
I
that?
think it's because they took the helm off and he hadn't
And
ever
ate in like hundreds of
he
years.
exactly. I think he had a super heightened one. He couldn't do it in a controlled situation. That's what I was getting is that they
Yeah, he kills that whole last family.
yeah,
The
I mean,
Fortuna,
but nobody
Fortuna.
gets mad. Nobody's like,
Yeah.
they're just kind of like, oh, there's a monster going around killing the people.
And then Apollo kills the surviving one.
So I didn't really like that either. But I really enjoyed Chaos when he had his helm on and he was
Yeah.
like, I was like, ooh, I kind of like, are we flirting? Are we
Yes,
gonna be a
I know.
threesome? Like we weren't, but
No.
yeah,
But I
but
did like his
I
character.
really liked it.
I do
And
feel like in the third book he did have like redemption because he was trying to help her. When he finds her in the forest, he's like, "We have like a mutual friend that needs our help," kind of thing. And then like when she gets lost or not lost, when she goes to find Jax at the fountain with Lala,
right,
Lala, she's like, "I'll meet you at the fountain." And Chaos finds her, and Jax is like in this state because he gave up his heart. He's like,
go
"You need to
away.
back
Yeah.
away. Like you need to like." So like I feel like he does redeem himself a little bit.
I mean, it's not even like a redeeming that I was.
Well, it is a
It
little
just
of a redemption that he murdered like a
well,
people.
because in my head though, I don't see him as a like a bad guy.
Yeah,
You know what I mean. So I'm like, I don't think it's like redeeming because in my head, I'm like, he has this like disease, we'll call it, that's making him be a bloodsucker
yeah,
monster, right?
yeah,
So I don't think it. And in my head, it makes sense because they took the helm off. As to why we took the helm off, I don't know why. So it's not even like good versus bad to me because I'm just like nature is more of what I
yeah.
think it is. So I'm sure he's still in there and stuff, but I'm just saying they could have gone the route with him just being an uncontrollable monster rather than Apollo because I never fully believed that storyline, you
Yeah.
know. And with Chaos, I genuinely I'm like I don't think that he was bad at all. Even when he ate that family, I think it was just because it's his disease.
He has an illness.
Yes,
He can't help himself.
he's got an illness. But they did brush that off very easily. Like Jax wasn't like, this is an issue that we need to get the helm back on. Like, how was that not? The fact that they mentioned such a destructive massacre,
Mm-hmm.
I was confused when the initial problem wasn't we need to get the helm back on Chaos because he's a monster. Because when they kill the Fortuna's
It was like they
family,
breezed
it
right
was in
over
the
it.
beginning too, and they
Mm-hmm.
do not like just no nothing. No, are we gonna
He
do
doesn't
something
even get
about
a
this?
slap on the
Yeah,
wrist.
we don't have any conversations about well, this is bad. What if he does this again? It's just kind of like
Yeah.
he's got a disease and he doesn't have his hat,
Disease.
you know?
It's not a disease.
Yeah.
He's a vampire.
But you see what I mean? I just like in my head
Yeah.
when that initially happens, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a quest of figuring
Well,
out
they're
that
in the
it's
north.
and nothing makes any sense. Yeah. See, I'm like,
We're just gonna chalk it up. So
I
they're
think
in
we're
the
gonna
north.
have to. We're gonna have to. But
Nothing makes sense.
I really did like Chaos's character in the first and two books. I really enjoyed him, and I
I
really
kind of
liked
liked his
Lala.
character throughout. I felt like I said, even
Yeah,
in the third
I
book
don't.
when
I
he tries
was
to
he in
be,
the third book a lot. I don't
it
feel
was
like
only
he
those like two
was
times,
when
but
he ate somebody. When
well,
he
three
ate
times.
he wasn't even like there though.
He
But
was mentioned when the family dies, and then when she is in the woods and he finds her, and he's like, "We have a friend that needs our
yeah,
help." And then when he saves her, when
yeah. So I still
Jack's in it,
liked him in the third, but it wasn't the same level as like one and two because he was a lot more of an active participant in those books.
yeah,
But Lala, was she in this? She was in
not
a
very
little teeny
much.
part,
She
right?
was
To
in,
help.
yeah, to help when she comes to the cursed forest or woods, um, and she sends her to the fountain thing.
Okay.
And then that's where she runs into chaos because Jax gave up his heart and he was being all Mr. Bad Guy. And
I
Chaos
love
is,
nobody.
yeah, and Chaos was like, we should probably back away now because he's getting a little aggressive.
What did you think about Lala's true love actually coming out of the arch and then she's like, I can't stand him. So her whole curse was based around
I
that guy
know.
and never being able to have him.
Maybe the next series is about them.
So do you think that she is now like a fate and that's why she'll never be on the level of like the humans?
So
I
I
think they
mean, they
said
do
something
talk
about
a
that,
little
right?
bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
Their emotions are different and they feel
Right.
differently. And then they went on to talk about how she was like, well, it's been like 5 million years, so like he's different, and she was like, I'm different because he's been trapped, and she was like,
So him coming out didn't break her poisonous tears or like her not being able to find another lover,
I don't know, they didn't really talk
because
about
they said that
that.
was like her curse that she would never fall in
Yeah.
love. But now that she had her one true love, she said in her eyes, come out, did that break any of her said
I'm
fake
wondering if
curse?
not because she kind of was like, I don't even know if I love him, essentially.
Basically, she
Yeah.
really was like,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
he can
he's
go away.
he's actually not that cool, man. No.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know. There is a lot of unanswered questions, huh?
but we love it for the whimsical aspect of
I
it. And
just
Jax,
love it for
I
Jack.
genuinely did really
Oh
love
my
Jax.
gosh.
We
Some of
can
the
get
things
into
that he
Jax.
says,
Yeah.
I'm just like, when he's like, just pretend you're mine for the night. And I'm like,
Oh
oh
yeah,
my
that was in the second
God.
book that I told you.
Yes.
I was like, I just read the most like heartwarming sentence. Like it broke my heart at the same
I
time that it warmed it that he
know.
could speak such kind words to her. Where he was like, just pretend that you're mine, and then, uh, no, he said pretend something to tell Evangeline for her to pretend, and he's like, and I'll pretend that, or you can go back to hating me or something. I don't
Yeah.
know, but it
I
was really
highlighted
good.
it in the book,
It was
actually.
really good. Some
But
of the words.
also in the third book, when I wanted to, I was like,
Were you swooning?
yes, when it was they were in the forest and it was like it takes you to like the best day of your life or whatever it was. What is it? It
Oh
took you,
yeah. They were at the
and they were
Hollow.
in the
Yeah,
hollow, and I was like, oh my god, his best day was when he was in the hollow with her,
yeah.
and I was just like, oh. But she didn't even
She didn't
remember
even
at
know.
that point,
See,
and I
I'm
was
like,
like, oh my god, he's literally sitting here saying like his best day of his life was with her in the hollow, and it was like when they were like being all lovey to each other because they were
yeah,
in the hollow,
yeah.
and I was just like, oh my god,
I think
it's
that was
so
the
cute.
first time that they had like let their walls down with each other, and they were
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, in more or less words, that we can't ever be together, but here we can.
Mm-hmm. I wanted them to never leave.
That's
I
literally
was like, just don't even
I
leave.
texted Ashley I at some point during my reread, and I was like, they should have just stayed in the
Just
Hollow
stayed in the hollow.
where food magically appears. That I loved. I mean, I don't know why they left the Hollow,
They
and
didn't
curses
need to.
aren't real.
Right?
Speaking of curses, how do we feel about his curse being broken? And did you have a feeling that her kiss would break the curse? I
You know
was a
what
little
I
confused
was
about that.
confused about? More confusion.
Mm-hmm.
They were all like, his heart starts beating again when he finds his.
But she hears his heart beating all the time in the series.
Yes, that's what I was so confused about.
Because she literally always, I specifically remember
Yes,
her saying that,
in
like, I
like
feel
all
his
of the
beating
books.
chest, da 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 da, his beating heart.
Yes,
So I'm confused about that too. But they're in the north, so sometimes maybe it works and it doesn't. I
he
don't
got
know.
CPR. He's like, yeah, I was confused about that part. Maybe that was his curse. It was a fate
For what?
that his heart wasn't gonna beat.
And it only beats if he eats apples.
No, that it beats once he finds his true love. I don't. We're not talking
Oh,
about the apples here. Who knows about the apples? Why are also
they're in the
why are
north.
the apples the different colors every time too?
They're in the north.
The white apples, the red apples, the blue apples.
I thought though I did think that that would have significance, that the
Yeah.
colors would mean something.
Yeah.
What I was confused about in the end was how it was just magically known that a kiss would actually break his curse. Because in my head, the way that that sounded was like he's not ever, his curse isn't meant to be broken because he's meant to kill everybody. Like
Yeah, because he's
anybody who
only.
will like him will
Yeah.
kiss him. So I don't know how she was like, but if they really, really love him, I will not die, you know? So I don't really
Maybe
know.
because Evangeline hates him so much as well. You know? The love hate?
And in my head, I just was like, very ballsy, but okay. There wasn't like something that she
Look,
was
true
like
love
cracked.
conquers all.
Yeah, basically that I really did chalk it up to. I was like,
True
true
love
love,
conquers all.
true love.
What's the last book called? A Curse for True Love?
Yeah, true. Yeah. So I was just like, yeah, true love breaks every. True
It
love wins.
True love wins. That's all. That's all we need to know. It doesn't matter.
So I didn't really fixate on that very much. I was like, oh, I don't think they mentioned that how she knew to do that. She just went for it, and I was like, true love
I
probably
think
did.
she literally just went for it. There were so many times though that she was gonna just go for it in the book and she didn't.
If only she had.
Could have been a one book thing. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, it would have been a long book because there's a lot that goes on in these books.
There really was. I think it was hard for me to wrap my head around everything that was happening and keep track of where we were too. Sometimes I was um, like I'm trying to think.
I'm also like a little confused about his hair color changing.
From blue and then it just kind of stays golden though, doesn't it? Or
Mm-hmm.
blonde or
Yeah.
whatever. Because I think it was only blue.
When he was Lord Jax.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that he was a lord. Oh wait, no, that's when he's Apollo's friend.
Yeah.
That's the
He
name that he's under.
to
To
be
be
Lord Jax.
not a fate.
Yeah. I got shivers. I'm sorry. Do you get
Yes,
those?
I get
I'm
those
like,
all the
oh
time.
god. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So overall, you rate this a 5-star series.
Well, I did until you had me sat here questioning every part of this
Questioning
book.
your integrity over this book.
Yes, just because I do really love it. Even
And
though
it's
I
just
have
how
questions.
it makes you feel though.
Yeah.
If it's a 5, it's a 5.
Even though I have questions that will probably never be answered unless somebody in the comments wants to answer these questions for us. I still love the series. I love Jax. Like I love his character so much. And I think that if I didn't love his character so much, it wouldn't be a 5-star, but he makes it for me. Like,
and I think that's totally fair. I feel like if it doesn't take away from your viewing of the story, how you view the story, how you receive the story, then it's fine. But to me, because it did affect my quality of the reading,
yeah,
it's not a 5-star at all for me. I'm like, maybe this.
there was like I did have questions mainly because you were asking me questions as I'm reading it, and I'm like,
Huh.
now I gotta go back. But I still like I said, I felt like I would have just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a good book.
Right. And if that's how it is, then it's like,
Yeah.
it can be a 5-star series. I'm sure a lot of people are like, this is my 6-star read. Like, this is,
Yeah. I think it's just a fun book though.
yeah. And I can't have fun because I'm confused. But that's, I can take that for what it is to me though, and know that this just isn't like the kind of book that does well with my head, because I can't enjoy it when I'm like trying to Google everything and trying to find answers and going back to other pages and being like, what the
Yeah.
hell did I miss? You didn't miss anything. We're in the north.
We're just in the north, Brandy.
So for me, I'm like this whole series entirely. Like I love Jax. I love the whimsical aspect of this story. I loved the hollow. I loved little pieces here and there. I loved that they had vampires in it. I did. That was a fun touch, even though they kind of fell out by the third book, and there was one crazy one that we accepted was ill. But
He has
anyways,
a disease.
yes. So for me, this is more like a 3.75, 4 star,
3.75?
four
Oh
star.
my god, that's harsh.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say like a 4.5.
No, I don't even know if I would read the next books in this series.
I think it
Honestly,
depends on who the characters are.
I don't even know. I think I'm going to maybe try Caravel for sure. And maybe if I love Caravel,
See,
I'll read
I
more by
thought
this author,
I
but I'm
liked
kind
this.
of
I liked
thinking,
this series more than Caraval. Caraval confused me a little bit.
oh god, then I'm tapping out with this. Maybe
Only because so much happens, but I did audio it, and maybe if I sat down and read it, I would have actually understand. Which I have the book, so I can physically read them. I just audio them, but um, it's a lot more whimsical, and I think that's why I got confused because I get confused easy when a lot goes on like whimsically, like I guess fantasy wise, because even I won't. I'm terrified to start Throne of Glass because I'm like I don't think I'm gonna understand like all of these worlds and everything.
that one's kind of
So
tough.
that is why I think Caraval like confused me because there is a lot that goes on with this like circus thing that comes and goes, and I was a little confused. But like I said, I also was audioing it. Is when I used to run, so I would like run and listen at the same time. But I also was focused on not dying from running, so I probably missed things. So maybe if I reread it, I would understand it more
Okay.
with actually physically reading it. Sometimes I do think audio confuses me on fantasy books.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm like, I might understand it better if I sat down and like read the physical books, which they're pretty comparable to Once Upon a Broken Heart, so I feel like I would read them pretty quickly. Like size wise, font wise, everything. So
Yeah, maybe I'll try Caravel and then go from there. I don't know. I did have a good time reading it, but I also was very frustrated and like annoyed,
I had a good time.
and that's all that matters.
I was a little confused in some parts of it, but
Not enough to affect the quality of the read, and that is
exactly.
totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that there's a lot of people who like this. It was amazing. This last book was amazing, and
I
this and
truly
that.
think that this is like my favorite series.
Yeah,
Don't you judge me.
I know.
I see it in your eyes. Like even over Akatar.
Yeah,
But I think because it is a little bit like more magical. I like that. I like the whimsical side of
it was a more of a light, like nobody's at war with anybody. There's no fighting.
it.
There's
Yeah.
no,
Those kinds of series I
outsmarting
get a
other
little bit
people.
I get confused and a little bored. Like when they do in a 5 book series is oh my it's another war. It's another war. We're
We
going to
gotta
another
plan this. Here's
battle.
our plan, and they like
Yeah.
go over the plan,
Yeah.
and you're just like,
So this book, why I think I like this series so flipping much, is because it's 3 books. Each book, something different happens. It's not like we're going to another war, we're going to another war, we're going to another war. It's pretty much they're all the books connect because they're trying to solve the one issue throughout all 3 books. It's not a new issue and then a new. You know what I'm saying? It's like from start to finish, they're trying to solve the one.
it's very low stakes.
Yeah, yeah. I do. I did read that which I have read the book, so don't judge me that I don't remember it, but that the last book in the Caraval series and the last book in this series fell flat for so many people. And I was reading a lot of people saying that they feel like this author, Stephanie Garber, has a hard time finishing books, like putting an end to it. And that's why like her last books aren't as good. I don't know though. But I did read that. And maybe that's why the last book, because she really struggled with it. And even I read, was it on Instagram? I read a post by her that was like she was like thank you, or maybe it was the acknowledgments or the beginning of the book where she was like I struggled with this book so much, which blew my mind because usually like you want to complete something, but maybe in her head she had like it could have gone 20 million different directions.
I feel like an ending would be hard.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I believe it because I'm just like, she has really great ideas, but with
Mm-hmm.
no closure or follow up to that, which is my
Yeah.
whole issue with this book. So,
Yeah.
series. So, I believe it that she struggles with
Yeah.
wrapping things up, tying loose ends.
Mm-hmm. There
But
was a
yeah,
lot of loose ends.
yeah, it's fine. We're in the north.
We're in the north. It was a great book. Great series. Loved it. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah.
a fun read.
It was really fun. I keep debating if I want to reread it again.
Yeah,
So
go
lame.
for it. Maybe you'll find out more answers.
Maybe
For
I'll
me.
get the real
This
answers
time
this
around. We'll have answers with her third reread.
Maybe.
So
I don't
we'll
know.
just
My
have to keep our
TBRs.
fingers crossed for that one because at this
Yeah.
point I'm tapping out. I think from this author maybe I might try Caravel.
I was actually looking to see if she had written other books, and I don't think so. I think it's literally Caravel in this because I looked on Goodreads just to see if maybe there was like a different style book of hers that I could read to see if it was similar. But no, I liked the series.
Yeah, I know you did.
5 stars
Yeah,
all around. I'm channeling my inner Sammy,
there you go.
who's
Stephanie, we
probably
have
watching.
your number one fan.
No, I thought it was
No
great.
questions asked here.
And there's
Anything goes.
doesn't matter. We're in the north.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. No, but also the books are really pretty. Like all the different. Have you seen the different covers?
Mm-hmm.
I saw pictures. I was like, I need them all.
Yeah, they are really pretty. Good
Mm-hmm.
covers will get you for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's all that I
Yeah.
had to say
Yeah.
for this. You have anything else that you needed to add?
No, I liked it. I loved the things that Jack said.
He had some really good lines.
He had some really sweet lines.
Yeah, outside of him being blonde in this series, like he could have been. Yeah, he's
That's
up there
my
for
one
boyfriends. Yeah,
the one thing about him. Why do we have gold hair?
I would have rather had the blue in my head. The blue makes
The
it.
blue was cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
because she has pink hair. Blue hair, pink hair. Would have been cool.
Yeah.
Would have been cool. Mm.
So just make sure that if you're listening, leave us your comments. Let us know if you think the last book fell flat. If you have answers
To any
to
of these questions,
we need help. Clearly, well, I need help for my mental sanity. I will fixate on
yeah.
this for
If
a
you've
while.
read Caraval and you remember it, unlike me, and the questions are answered in this series, also let us know.
Yes, but other than that, make sure that you are following us on all of our platforms: YouTube, TikTok, subscribe to our Spotify,
Yeah.
YouTube, all the things. All the things.
All the things. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.